Yeah, we were doing GeoGuessr, and we were actually in your neighborhood in Cypress Provincial Park, which is
Oh,
like,
that's
and I
an
was like,
awful park.
yeah, but
Hate
like
that park.
it looks amazing though, like the whole mountains and everything. It's like, wow, and
But you know, it isn't a big city. The Halcyon Frequency podcast. This is kind of a special episode. We're doing a little themed episode where the three of us, myself, Blind, who's hosting, 2D, Kiri, and Bellinair, are going to be talking about how we got into streaming. So kind of before I jump into the topics of this episode, I just want to say hello to everybody. So Kiri, how are you doing today?
Hello. I'm okay, I guess.
And Bellinair, how's things been? What's up? It's been a while since we've had you on.
I'm doing good as well. I'm being annoyed by our current postal strike because I managed to buy something really nice for really cheap, and now it's just stuck in the mail for who knows how
Oh,
long.
that's annoying.
Do you have like a
Yeah.
tracking number where it's close enough that you could
It's
theoretically
not even
go pick it up?
posted yet because they don't pick up the packages.
Oh.
So it's still at the seller.
Oh no.
Yeah.
That's really bad for like every online business in existence. I
Yeah.
hope that gets sorted quickly.
Yeah, it's been almost a week now. So, and they failed to settle the strike today, so it's gonna be at least till Wednesday.
At least it's a quick strike then.
Yeah.
Because
Well,
like,
the postal strike is basically just supporting the like the transportation strike union, whatever they're, who's like
Okay.
a moving cargo. They are on strike, and the postal service are supporting it.
we had a public transit strike a couple of years ago, and it was just like, oh yay, all of the buses are running at 50%
Oh yeah,
frequency.
those are also supporting. So and it's the ski holidays in part of the Finland currently, in the southern Finland. So a lot of people are worried that they're not going to get to their holiday destinations because of the trains and buses and everything might not be actually going.
That sucks.
That's gotta be stressful.
Well, I mean, hopefully, hopefully they get what they want quickly, and they get their pay quickly, and they get their vacation days quickly, so that everybody else can go back to normal.
Yeah. And I get my
It's generally
chaos night.
how I hope that those end. But like I
how
said,
are you blind? You
How
just
am
said
I?
you're here, but how are you? Yeah.
geez, I don't know. I'm hosting. I'm drinking coffee. I made brownies last night
They look
I
tasty.
saw a picture.
while doing leg day. So like
Did you bake the brownies with your legs?
No, I did all of the baking stuff for the brownies. I put them in the oven, and then I worked out until the
Okay.
brownies, which was like a 40-minute workout, so my legs are sore. Although I did kind of
Well done.
dawdle in the middle and listen to a podcast and other things, but yeah, they were pretty good. I ate 2 of them, and so now I have like 5 brownies left. The problem is like, no, 4 brownies left. The problem is like doing the math to figure out how much I need to give myself in injections before I eat brownies, because it came the whole thing came out to 369 carbohydrates. So it's like 60-ish carbs per brownie, which isn't so crazy. It's like better than your average sugar cookie, but still. It was actually a recipe I got off of my Discord from one of the people on my Discord server. Made brownies and posted pictures of them. Like, I'm like jokingly, I was like, I want that recipe, and then they posted a picture of the recipe, like of the like cookbook. They're like, this cookbook's older than me, and I was like, excellent.
I mean, that's just makes sure
That's how
it's
you know it's a
nice
good cookbook.
recipe. Yeah, good cookbook.
The description of it, like the way it was written, was also really funny. It was like it talks about mixing everything together, and then says put it into the oven for around 40 minutes ish, and like just make sure that you take a look at it after about 38, because you don't want it to cook all the way through. You want them soft in the middle, and it's just like written like somebody just kind of like spoke it out loud at somebody who then wrote it down. It was very funny.
We actually had a good discussion about diabetes on my Discord earlier, the other day, and a lot of the people on my stream tend to be older, like 40, 50, for some reason. So it's something that
Common
many
topic.
of them are, yeah, basically. And then someone was saying that one of the Discord members calls this other guy who is a little older, like 50 something, always calls him the sugar daddy. And then someone was saying that we need to be careful, or he's gonna start calling everyone sugar daddies. And then I replied to that I think we just established that none of us can have sugar.
High blood sugar daddy.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I've been okay. I've been a bit in the mental dumpster this past week for some reason. I ask my brain anything. I don't know why.
It's always this time of the year for me as well. It's like
I don't know if it's
dark
necessarily
and
an
grey
annual
and
thing.
miserable
I think it's just
outside.
like
And
every
like
3 weeks.
yeah.
It doesn't really matter what time of year it is. It's like I get like 2 weeks of okay brain and then 1 week of bad brain. And it just works like that. But
I'm just so waiting for a winter to be over and have some sunlight and green stuff outside
yeah, true.
again.
When was the last time the sun came up?
I don't know. I'm not up when the sun is up. That's the problem.
Oh, true.
So that makes it
probably
even more difficult.
Yeah.
It's probably up for like 2 hours or something, right?
No, it's a little more. It's like 6 hours or something, I think, currently. Can quickly check.
It's very easy to sleep through.
It is. And it's like because it's in the middle of the day when it's up. So you go to school or work, you go inside a big building, you don't see the sun in the morning, and then when you finish job or school or whatever and you go home, the sun is already down. So even normal people don't really see the sun.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah,
And
and then also when
9
it is
hours
up,
currently.
it's like middle of the December here. We're like, in the middle of December here, like the sun comes up at like 10 a.m. ish, and it goes down at like 3:30. Which isn't too bad, but like we only have about 2 weeks of that, and then it like goes back to normal. But like it's hard to explain for people who live further south than this, because when the sun does that, it doesn't actually go that high up. Like,
No,
it doesn't really feel like the sun actually, even if the
No,
sun
it
is
peaks.
out, it doesn't feel like the sun came out.
It's like, hello, I'm gone.
Yeah, it's just kind of up, down.
Yeah. So currently the sun goes up at 8 and goes down at 5 p.m. Which is basically when you go to school and when you leave school or work.
Yeah, damn. Well, the theme of this episode is how we got into streaming. So I'm not entirely sure how we should start this, but we kind of have this little timeline here written down, and I think because me and Bellinaire started streaming way earlier than Kiri did,
Yeah.
I think the way we're going to do this is I'm going to start this off with Bell, and then maybe I'll take over, then Kiri can take over after that. And I just want to pose the question. How did you find Twitch and streaming? Bellinaire, go.
So I actually wanted to start YouTube first, because well, Twitch wasn't even a thing, and not even JTV wasn't really a thing when I wanted to start. Because I didn't have any method to really record my voice, because I didn't have a microphone, and I also think the Windows version I had didn't really support easily recording voice or anything. So I didn't end up doing it, and I always really wanted to, because I watched like Avak, for example, and Quill and everyone doing like a Dwarf Fortress actually, and then like similar games, and I was like, I want to do that as well, and then I kind of forgot about it for years, and I really liked watching StarCraft tournaments, and they were doing it on this weird site called JTV, and I was like, oh yeah, there are some tournaments every weekend or so, and I was watching those, and then it moved to Twitch eventually, and then one night there wasn't a tournament at all going on, so I was like, what else is on this site? There's like weird people, and oh, hey, they're playing retro games, because I really liked retro games at the time as well, and I was watching then a bunch of retro gamers, well, I still actually watch it today even, and then I found, oh, there's people playing XComs and whatnot, and I want to do that as well, instead of the YouTube stuff, and then eventually when I got a new PC, I was like, yes, now I can do some streaming. And
That's really cool.
at first I started doing it, it was actually Victor of Vrana, that action RPG that came out apparently 2015-ish. And I started with that without microphone, kind of testing it. And then pretty quickly moved to streaming Dwarf Fortress for 6 months was nothing but Dwarf Fortress. Which is kind of funny that now when the Steam version came out, it's kind of going back to the roots.
So for me, with content creation, like way back in the day, it was again YouTube. I think I technically uploaded videos to YouTube in like 2008 and 2009 quite a bit. over 2 different channels. One was like, actually, no, 3 channels. One was a channel that me and a friend had, which I think is like now just gone. I'm pretty sure he deleted it. Where me and him made like Lego stop motion videos and random things that we would like film with his film camera and then like put into some version of Windows Movie Maker and make horrible like little skits and things that, you know, we did when we were like kind of little kids. I'm pretty sure those got uploaded to YouTube at some point. I think we did like 2 or 3 of them, as well as a couple like Lego stop motion things, which we literally did with a film camera where we would like take photos of them. So I did some of that in the early days. I had another channel where I want to say like I made videos on like how to use uTorrent and stuff in like 2008 on a different channel. When some of those videos like actually got like a non-trivial number of views, which is weird. Like none of them had my voice on them. They were just like, here's just like a shot of my computer monitor and then just like text on screen. Again, like I just used like, I think at that point I was using like a cracked free trial of Vegas something or another. I think it was Sony Vegas at the time before it got bought by whoever owns Vegas now. So that was kind of where I cut my chops editing video back in the day. This was like back when I only had internet for like 3 hours a day too. So like uploading videos was tricky. And I don't think my parents ever even knew I was uploading videos. Then later I made another YouTube channel where I uploaded music to because I was writing a lot of music back then. I still do write music now. I just don't publish it anywhere. Then did that for a bit. And again, some of them got a non-trivial amount of views, but like nothing like close to monetizable. I remember I sold a piece of sheet music actually to my cello teacher, which is something that like sticks with me. It's like the peak of my music writing career. Then knowing him, he probably like put it in a book somewhere. And then after that, I eventually started finding gaming on YouTube, and I was playing games, and I had a YouTube channel where because I had like 6 YouTube channels in the early day. I had a YouTube channel for a bit there, probably around 2009. It would have been where I was uploading montages of various free-to-play first-person shooters I was playing at the time. So like Allegiance of Valiant Arms, Combat Arms, Crossfire, Counter-Strike 1.6, Counter-Strike Source. I made montages out of all of those, full of copyrighted music and whatnot, so none of that was monetizable. But like good times, and had a lot of friends who would like send me replays of their games, and I would like spend a weekend like editing together their replays and kill streak montages and stuff like that. Sort of like, you know, how a lot of people cut their chops on like editing. What do you call it? Editing Call of Duty stuff, but I never had Call of Duty, so nor did I have a capture card, so I wouldn't have been able to really do that back in those days anyway. And then eventually I remember, and I know it was 2009 because that's when this game came out. I remember seeing a live stream, and I'd seen live streams before, but they were always like, I guess, early days IRL stuff with like vloggers and stuff talking at a camera and just doing like live Q&As. But I remember stumbling upon a live stream of Gassy Mexican, Cnanners, and I can't remember who the third person was. I think it was either 3 or 4 people, and I can't remember who the other 2 were. But I know it was Gassy Mexican and Cnanners, who both still make content. Gassy Mexican still streams, and Cnanners uploads videos sometimes and streams occasionally. And they were playing the first Borderlands on launch day. And that came out in 2009. And it was on Ustream. And I remember going, wow, that is the coolest thing ever. And I remember like passing it around to my friends, like, they play video games live on the internet. You can like watch this stuff. And a friend of mine goes, yeah, like there are other websites that stream occasionally. And they were like, wow. And we all started watching, and I was watching it like 160p because that was what my internet could handle. I remember just starting to like see YouTubers that I watched at the time going, we're going to be live on this thing. And then YouTube actually very briefly had like a YouTube partners only live streaming service, which was awful because it had no chat. Then all the other sites started popping up. And then I remember Justin TV popped up, and then Owned popped up. And eventually like I made an account on Owned, but never streamed on Owned. And then I made an account on Twitch when it became Twitch. I never made an account on Justin TV. And I can't remember if it was the Firefall beta or if it was League of Legends at the time, but I actually streamed a bit in 2012 on Twitch for about 3.5 weeks, or maybe like basically like a month or two. And then like actual real life job plus girlfriend got busy and I just stopped and then kind of did this stop and start thing until I really got going in 2013 when I was fully moved out proper instead of like between moving out and not moving out, because then I actually got decent internet and could stream above like 240p. And then I could stream at 480. It was great. Moved out and like the OBS was still like in its infancy, so you really had to like pay for XSplit back in those days. So it was like, and I think part of the reason I only streamed for a month back in the initial time was because I didn't have much money and I didn't have a PayPal account, or if I did have a PayPal account, I didn't want to use it. You needed an XSplit license, which was like $8 a month or something. And I was like, I don't want to pay for that. And back in those days, like you couldn't really make money streaming unless you had a lot of people watching. So there wasn't really like a logical reason to go put money or effort into that if you're not going to get anything out of it. So it just kind of didn't happen. But by the time I got back into it in 2013, OBS had gotten to a point where it was like, yeah, you can just stream for free. And then I just kind of never stopped.
Yeah, OBS did so much good for a whole streaming business. It's
having
so much easier to get
license
into and didn't have to pay for anything and like the other ones.
It was also so much more user friendly than XSplit was.
Some of the other ones were like arcane in technology, like you needed a PhD to figure out how they actually worked.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, they were maybe not a PhD, but they were definitely like less accessible.
Yeah, for sure. But a lot of them were also not meant for like a single person just stream a little games. They were more like actual productions and things like that.
Yeah, like what's it called? XSplit was like designed for like TV productions and such.
Yeah.
So
Fascinating.
Kiri, what was your discovery of Twitch? I suppose.
Yeah, it's very funny because I came to all of this very late, and not because I found it. Although listening to you guys, I remember that I found a stream when I was playing Guild Wars 2 several years ago, and there was one, I don't know, community group, fan group who did tutorials on raid bosses and such. And sometimes they were live streaming. And I remember watching those live streams, but on their website. So I didn't really, I mean, I guess they were streaming to Twitch and then had that embedded to the website.
Yeah,
but
that's how I did StarCraft as well. I was on the Steam Liquid site, and it was embedded there always.
Well, that was also like how you monetized streams for a really long time too.
Right.
You'd embed ads on your website, and then you'd embed the stream on your website.
Yeah, exactly.
Because like Twitch ads didn't pay anything back then, and like good luck getting partnered back then too, unless you were either like somebody famous or something else.
Yeah. So it must have been Twitch now that I think about it, but I didn't really notice it as, this is Twitch, this is a platform, people that do that there. That was probably my first time really encountering a live stream. And I joined all of this very late. It was 2018. I was about to finish my studies, my master's in English. And I was looking for something to do afterwards, just a hobby, I don't know, something fun. So I was thinking of maybe I'll do YouTube because I knew YouTube. Or maybe I'll write a blog or something. And then Mystery, my husband, actually mentioned, hey, what about live streaming? What about Twitch? And I had no clue what that was. I mean, live streaming, yes, but Twitch, no, never heard of. So I took a look and I really liked it. It was like I made an account in March. No, I think it was February 2018. And then I started streaming in March. And yeah, never stopped really.
So I guess kind of now the next question is, and I kind of like this roundtable style where like Belle goes, I say something, and then Kiri says something. Bellinaire, at what point was it a hobby for you initially, or did you always kind of start off going, this is something I want to do as a business?
I mean, I've always won like video games. I wanted to do something on that. I never really figured out what it would be. But for streaming, when I started, it was obviously just this looks fun. I want to do that. Also, one reason I started streaming was that I played a lot of games, but I had a habit of never really finishing them. And I was like, okay, if I play this on stream with people, I probably will actually kick myself to finish the games. And I actually did. I finished a lot of games, much more than I did outside of streaming. So it actually did work. But it definitely wasn't like I'm gonna make money with this initially. I think it was like I started around like 2015, maybe like super early 2015, when the Victor Brand got early access, and then City Skylines released that year as well, I think. And I got to play that very early, thanks to David Martinez giving me an early access copy. Just being a very small streamer, like 10, 15 viewers maybe, he gave me a super early copy of the City Skylines, and I streamed that. It's March 10th, 2015 when it released. And I got it like a month before or something like that, like very early. And I had like hundreds and hundreds of viewers, like 1,000 plus at some point. And I was like, okay, that's a lot of viewers. This might actually turn into something, which obviously is a lot more than I these days have. So it's gone down a little. But that was like kind of like, maybe I can do that for like a living. Was that point. And then carried on from there. And then RimWorld got into early access, Kickstarter in 2016, I think. And that was the other like a high point.
It launched onto Steam in 2016, but the Kickstarter was in 2014.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah. And
so those were like the two big ones where I was like, okay, the RimWorld is bringing viewers, and then the Skylines was like super big bumper, and I was like, okay, this might actually be something I can do for a living.
For me, it was like I remember when I got back into streaming after I'd moved out, it was actually because a dude that I know named ZBlurryZ, who actually, I don't know if this video still exists, but for a long time had a video that had over 1 million. He actually has several videos that have over 1 million views, but one of the first ones that he had was a video called Let's Play Counter-Strike, which is hysterical because he didn't know that it had over 1 million views until it got recommended to him, because it was on an old YouTube account that he hadn't looked at in ages, and it was never monetized, which is super funny. And then his own video, he just like sent me this DM. He's like, dude, my own video got recommended to me. It has 1 million views. What the hell happened? But like it had like copyrighted music in it or something, so like he wouldn't have been able to monetize it anyway. And later on, he had like a brief stint in like music YouTube by making Launchpad covers, and had another video that got 1 million views. But anyway, he basically just like challenged me to do a 30-day stream challenge. He's just like, you're fun and entertaining to talk to, because he would like show up at the McDonald's that I worked at late at night and like hang out with me for like 4 hours while I cleaned the lobby. Where he would just like put like malt liquor and other things into like large McDonald's cups and just get drunk and talk at me while I would clean. And he's just like, you're entertaining and you're funny. You should stream again. And I'm just like, I don't know, man. He'd just be like, yeah, like you could do it for a living. I'm like, I don't think so. Because like, at this point, if you weren't partnered, you had a 2-minute delay on Twitch back in 2013. And so like talking to chat was difficult. Lots of people wouldn't watch unpartnered channels because of the chat delay. And basically the only real view draws for Twitch at that point was either have like a big presence on social media somewhere, a big YouTube channel, get extremely lucky, or be very good at a video game. And I didn't have any of those things. I wasn't like, diamond in League of Legends or anything, or really high elo, I guess at that point. I wasn't like a master class StarCraft player, and like I didn't have a big side hustle or anything. So I finally was just like, you know what, screw it. Let's try it. And I think this was like around the time Lethal Frags, like 2 or 3 years streaming challenge was coming close to an end. I can't remember how long he actually did, but it was like, all right, I'll do 30 days. I made it to the 30 days, and the idea was that Blurry would do it too. So he would do 30 days and I would do 30 days. I made it to the 30 days and he made it to like 18, I think. And I never really stopped, and I still have that counter going. It's in the 2000s now of the number of streams that I've done. Although admittedly it's like, it's way lower now because like I only stream like 3-4 days a week now. But like initially, like for the first 3 years I streamed, it was 7 days a week, with the occasional day off, which is just unsustainable, and you shouldn't do that. And I don't actually recommend anybody does that unless like you're streaming like maybe 2 hours a day, at which point, okay, then maybe I could see it. But like outside of that, don't do that. And there was always kind of the thought in the back of my head that like, oh, this could turn into something. And I think it's like something that like people who make YouTube videos, or people who like do amateur voice acting, or people who, I don't know, sing. Maybe I'll join a band and we'll have a hit single or something. Like any kind of creative outlet that also has some money and some industry attached to it. There was always like the thought there, but it didn't materialize into any kind of usable income. Because my first streams were in 2012, right? It didn't materialize into usable income until 2016. So
yeah,
it took a long time. And then it was the majority of my income in 2016 because I cut my work shifts back at my job drastically. But it took another year, I would say, before it was actually like decent income, and it wasn't like livable, decent income until 2018. So that window from, and I think the advantage that I actually had is that like the affiliate program didn't exist, so it was way easier to just be like, oh yeah, no, this is a hobby, and like I had a tip button. You could tip me, and like way back in the beginning days, like we didn't even have like any kind of alerts. Those didn't come in until like 2014, 2015, and NightDev with Nightbot was the first company to have alerts, and those alerts like cost you 1% of your donations. Actually, I think it was 2%. Pretty sure it was 2% of your donations NightDev would take. And then Streamlabs launched with, we don't take any percent, which was like huge. And
yeah, I wonder how much money they made with that.
Probably a lot.
A lot, yeah.
A lot. Especially like, when CoCarnage back in the day, like took down. Do you remember when CoCarnage got so many donations that NightDev's website went down and nobody else could get donations? Like,
yeah.
Wow.
CoCarnage made so much money on his birthday one year that nobody else could get tips on like all of Twitch. So like that's how that was like the early days of streaming, like
yeah. But I imagine the scale of things was like a mini scale compared to these days on like
totally
everything.
But like we take so many things for granted on Twitch now that were either new and weird at the time, or we're just like being born. So like way back in those days, it was way easier to just stream as a hobby and like not even think about money. And I think
that was also much more the mindset as well. The people were just doing it for funsies instead of like, this is going to be something to make money.
Yeah. I mean, some people had Patreons. Some people had like Game Wisp, which is what I ended up with. Some people had like, donation buttons and whatnot. And like, we all had like our little
PayPal
weird ways of making some money, but money was never the forefront thing. And it was actually kind of weird back in the day when people would make money the forefront thing and try and make money as not a Twitch partner, because kind of the general like kind of consensus from people who streamed was just like, if you're streaming and you're not a Twitch partner and you're trying to make money, what are you even doing? Because you're not getting ad revenue, and ad revenue was way better back then. You're not getting ad revenue, and you're not getting any kind of subscription revenue or anything, and your delay is so bad, like, good luck. But on the business side of things, Kiri, at what point did it ever start off as a hobby, or was it always kind of like a
it was
money doing this?
No, it was a hobby. I just wanted something to chill, because I studied a lot and long, and just I wanted a break. So I enjoyed gaming, and then I started streaming. It was a hobby and it was really fun. But then a couple months later, I had a bit of income, and then you have to register yourself as self-employed in Austria, and the taxes get a bit crazy and stuff. So I had to do that anyways. And I thought, you know what, this is actually really cool. What if this turns into a job? So it became my part-time job just a couple of months after I started, really. And I had a different part-time job because I was done with my studies, and I just took any job really to get money and be able to live. But at that job interview, I already told the people there that, I'm doing this thing on the side and I'm streaming, and it's not super successful yet, but I'd like it to be. So I'm not going to stay here at this company forever. And that's really funny, because they were okay with that. They said, that's all right. They understand. I can do my side thing. I stayed there, I think, for 2 years before I quit. But yeah, so it started out as a hobby, but really quickly after that, I realized, hey, this is really cool. What if? Because growing up, I had those game magazines, where there's game reviews and such, and they came with a DVD with people actually recording themselves playing the game, reviewing it and such. And I had a dream of, I want to be a game critic. That was so cool, but completely unattainable because in Austria that is not possible because we're too small. We don't have that.
Mm-hmm.
And then
same here.
Yeah, because in Germany, our neighbor, yeah, that is possible. Austria, no.
Yeah.
And I thought this is really cool. Like streaming is kind of like that, but also I have much more freedom. What do you want to say, Belle?
No, I was just saying that we do have a couple like gaming magazines that basically do that, but to actually get to work there would be like winning a lottery because I imagine there's a lot of people wanting to do that, but there's like 3 spots on the whole country.
Which means they also probably pay like absolute crud because there's so few positions available.
Yeah. I would hope at least a couple of them get paid really well because they've been there since like I was a kid and they're still writing there. And they were really good at writing like things already back in the day. Like I always loved like there's a guy called Niko Nirvi in Finland who's one of the guys who works still in Pelitlehti, which literally means games magazine. And he always wrote like really good reviews, which always like resonated with me. And it was also like games like Command Conquerors and strategy games and building games, which I liked as well. But he also wrote like a lot of like kind of gaming related articles and like stories, but not like from actual like, games or anything, but like a really witty like humor and things like that. And I always really liked that.
I wonder if he's ever been to Gamescom when you've been there.
Probably.
Small world.
Yeah. That's actually kind of funny because there's not like big conventions of anything like that in Finland. And I joked with one of the Finnish developers anyways, that we always have to go to like Germany or somewhere else to meet each other. Why are we ever not meeting like in Finland?
That's the way it is though, because there's THQ Nordic, the publisher, and their office is in Vienna. I'm in Vienna. But we actually met up for the first time in Amsterdam at TwitchCon last year. Which is so funny because they did invite me to come to the office, but then, with COVID and the pandemic, they said, maybe a bit later, right? And then later never happened, and then we actually met in Amsterdam.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Funny how that works. Funny little anecdote, actually. There was... I used to go to these, like, kind of BS youth conferences things when I was, like, 12 that my parents would just, like, drop me and my sisters off at. And they would like make us do kind of almost homework, but not really. And things like, oh, what do you want to do when you graduate high school? Like, what university do you want to go to? What kind of post-secondary education do you want to? And mine was always, I don't want to go to university. I want to get a job. And then they'd be like, oh, what career path do you want to go to? Do you want to go into welding? Do you want to like fly planes? Do you want to work on a farm? Do you want to work in construction? I want to make video games or play video games is what I said back then. And then they'd always like basically like put me in the corner and say that's not a job.
Yeah.
Like I actually got like kicked out once because they're like, that's not a job. You can't do that. I'm like, I'll show you.
Rude.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you did. Look at you.
Eventually, yeah. An industry materialized underneath me and I landed on it. But I guess kind of moving forward, like me and Bellinaire kind of went on a weird saga at one point because for me, like my kind of curve with streaming was I started off with like a lot of old PC games, like a few indie games at the time, but the stuff that actually got me going was Roller Coaster Tycoon and OpenTTD, but mostly Roller Coaster Tycoon and also old SimCity games. Just kind of like, modifying them enough so that they work on modern OSs and then streaming that. So it's kind of like people's hit of nostalgia for a while there. Roller Coaster Tycoon was the one that really did well, though, and which kind of led perfectly into Frontier and Planet Coaster. And also, I guess, Roller Coaster Tycoon World, but we don't talk about that, which set my graphics card on fire. It kind of led perfectly slowly into Planet Coaster. And that was kind of my first big break, you could say, because they put out the betas for Planet Coaster, and I bought like the $90 version of that game or whatever and got into the betas and streamed those. And those did pretty well for me. And like not nearly as well as like Belliner did with City Skylines like you were talking about, but like I was getting like 60, 80, 90 viewers on those beta days streaming that, especially like as somebody that like, oh, the people who are obsessed with theme parks know because I stream the other theme park games. So I kind of had like a built-in audience for that already. And then Frontier took notice of that and they put me on front page a bunch, actually. So I was like this 20, 30 viewer streamer. And affiliates weren't even out yet at this point. But they put me on front page as the game launched and before the game launched. And then it was about basically every 6 months. And it was locked front slot first front page, like multiple thousands of concurrent viewers. And this was back when front page was still a pretty big deal. And whenever I would get one of those, it would be like 200-300 followers. And those were always quite major, especially for somebody who wasn't even partnered or affiliated at that point. Like Amazon had bought Twitch, so there wasn't as many issues with delay and whatnot, and like we had transcoding and all of the things that you need to like function as a channel. But I got a bunch of early opportunities during that, and that built up enough of an audience that I was able to, get to the point where I was making like $600-700 a month off of donations and like the little subscription service GameWisp that I was using, and I was able to go to TwitchCon. And when I went to TwitchCon, the first TwitchCon I went to, which was in 2016. There was 15,000 tickets sold. To give you an idea, they sell closer to 100,000 now for TwitchCon. So it was very small.
Wow.
It was very small. This was pre-affiliate, and this was in San Diego at the San Diego Convention Center. And I just had a community badge, but I made up some business cards. I can't actually remember. I think, I'm trying to remember which artist did my business cards back then. I guess it would have been Grant, who I haven't spoke with in ages, but who went by Galad Warder. And they did my business cards, and I walked up to all of these different Twitch partners and just like handed them business cards. And then Frontier actually had a booth at TwitchCon where they were showing off Planet Coaster, and I showed up there. And they let me like hang around their booth and almost run their booth a couple of times while they went on lunch break, because I knew how the game worked and I was just walking other streamers through the game. And a bunch of those streamers were like the big Kerbal Space Program guys, because they're like, oh, we like games where you build things. And so that got me in with the circles of people like Eric Johnson Space Academy, which is EJSA, on Twitch, K-Space Academy, who is Das Valdez, and a bunch of other, like, for the time, very large streamers who are now, I guess, admittedly around the same size that we are these days. And they rated me a lot after that TwitchCon. And it, like, I don't think I would have a streaming career if it wasn't for that. Basically, I got back from TwitchCon and like immediately just started getting raids, and I continued to stream Planet Coaster and like those theme park games, I guess maybe through 2016 into mid 2017, but by mid 2017 I'd basically moved on to RimWorld, with a little bit of the theme park stuff kind of around the edges, and eventually just like transitioned entirely into RimWorld. And I very heavily owe my success to going to 2016's TwitchCon. But by 2017, Twitch had ballooned so much that TwitchCon never really gave me the same amount of benefit. TwitchCon 2016 was the one that really like, oh, I have a career now. And TwitchCon 2016 was actually a very funny year too, because I'd met Cringer, who is mutual friends with me, Belliner, and I think you know him too, Kiri.
Yeah, I do.
I'd met Cringer at that point, and he was also a very small streamer at the time. Like, he was, like, streaming to 20 people. And he really, really, really wanted to go to TwitchCon, but was still working his job at the time. So I went to the front desk in the hotel that I was staying in, and I printed out a picture of him. And just started walking up to other streamers that he knew that I didn't, and was just like, hey, you know this guy? And he goes, yeah, here, take a photo with him. And I kept tweeting photos of Cringer at Cringer. at TwitchCon with like streamers that he knew that he watched.
It's so funny.
Which was also like admittedly a great icebreaker, so I could also hand them my business cards. So I met a bunch of other like bigger names doing that at that TwitchCon, just like handing people my business card while getting them to take photos with Cringer, which was very funny. Very good memories for that particular TwitchCon. Also, shoutouts to community member Diagman, who paid for the hotel for that TwitchCon, and went to TwitchCon with me that year. So I owe that dude like lunch at some point.
That's a really cool story. I like it.
Yeah, 2016 TwitchCon was pretty big for me, I would say.
It's so cool to hear that because both of you have been in this industry for so long, and I'm still relatively new, even though my 5th streaming anniversary is coming up. But still, just listening to how it was before and what you, I don't know, got up to. It's very cool.
Yeah,
You
I think
got in
similarly.
After things got easier.
Yeah, I think similarly to me, like not the TwitchCons, but the Gamescoms were like a big bump for me as well. I got to meet a lot of other streamers and got to meet especially like people in the industry who I became with friends as well. And then seeing them on all the conventions, and they're like, "Hey, our new game is coming out," and telling me about it and everything. Even though I'm still not the biggest streamer or anything, but they still always remember to poke me as well. Because I was there very early on, and they didn't even know what streamers were when I was in the first Gamescom. They're like, "What is a streamer?" It's kind of like YouTube but live. Ah, okay. Are you like a freelance reporter or? Okay, oh yes, I'm freelance.
Definitely
Okay.
freelance.
It
Not
was
paid.
like it get really hard to like explain, like nobody knew what you did. I mean, some of them like who are like the actual developers and things like that, but any of the like PR people or anything, like, yeah, we don't know what a streamer is at all. I was like, yeah, I'm freelance. It was just easiest to say that you're a freelance. Like they kind of understand that. So okay, it was very interesting going there.
When I have to
go on.
just real quick, when I have to describe to somebody who doesn't know what Twitch is and streaming is, I also always say it's like YouTube but live, because everybody knows YouTube, but Twitch is still. I mean, in the industry, people know now, right? But
yeah, now
I don't know.
like...
Outside of it, like I just went to the doctor's last week for a general checkup, and then we got into talking, and then I said, "Yeah, I'm a streamer." It's like, what's streaming? So, YouTube but live, and then people understand. It's really funny.
When people ask me what I do, I just say that I work in digital marketing focused on influencers and content creators.
Mm-hmm.
I don't state that I'm the influencer or content creator because then I don't get funny look. And people know what influencers are now, so...
Yeah.
Yes, they do.
Well, I don't know. Maybe here they would still be like, "What is an influencer?"
It's someone who influences you into buying stuff.
Yeah, Finland is always kind of behind on those kind of things. We get them like 5-10 years later, and people are like, "Ah, that's a thing," when it's like died out already elsewhere.
Like
so you guys are going to get way into NFTs in like
yeah, probably
3 years.
Yeah, likely. Very likely. And it's always like Sweden gets it first, and then Finland does it a couple years later.
Better late than never.
Yeah.
Except with NFTs, then probably better never. Something that else is that's kind of worth noting is Twitch teams. I think like when it comes to like my history streaming, it's hard to describe it without talking about teams.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even remember when Twitch added teams, and they've done a very good job trying to hide them from existence. But throughout the years, there was always like groups of streamers that would like band together, and they would like either form a company, or they would like there was several attempts with like different streaming groups trying to form companies, or esports teams trying to put together kind of things to make them seem more organized, or just like different groups of streamers getting together to like run events and stuff. And it was actually how I met FG. It's a pity she's not on this episode, but like was in the Green Man Gaming stream team. So if you had a Green Man Gaming affiliate code, so that you could get there was like I think 3% of the sales or whatever, like some hysterically low amount. I think they later raised it to 6, but some hysterically low percentage of the cut on game sales through their website. They had a little disc, or not initially it wasn't a Discord, because like Discord didn't really become a thing until after that, but they had like a little stream team that they would add you to, and they would like at you on Twitter, and you could at them and they would retweet you, and then eventually they made a Discord, and then people would communicate. And for a while there, it was very much something that a lot of people would abuse. There was a lot of channels that I think blew up by making a team where it's like, join my team and only raid people on the team, and also definitely just raid me because I run the team, and also like give me a bunch of money and I will promote you on the team, and all this kind of like weird multi-level marketing things came out of it. A lot of that stuff. Scheme. Yeah, a lot of that pyramid scheming stuff like kind of got outlawed on Twitch, and a lot of those teams got banned. Which is for the best. Like there was definitely some ones that operated like that, except that were like either around a storefront or a group of people. And like I said, I met FG through the Green Man Gaming one, which I think still exists actually. Yeah. Although I left it a long time ago. But me and Bellinaire actually got involved with one, which I encountered through streaming Elite Dangerous. I started streaming Elite Dangerous around the time I was like burning out of Planet Coaster, which is Frontier's other big game, before Planet Zoo, I suppose. It was a group called The Sovereignty. And like I'm gonna kind of glean over details because like there's nothing like super drama heavy here, but Sovereignty's whole idea was like the leadership of Sovereignty was like, we're going to bring in anybody who has any sort of production value on your stream. If you have even like a remotely decent amount of production value, we're gonna bring you into this team. And this was back when like hosts and raids were still really big. And they basically just like requested that everybody auto-host the team, which was easy to do. And when you're going to raid somebody within the team, right? So there was that. They also had a Discord, and it was about 80 people when I joined. And it worked pretty well for a while there. There was some pretty big names in that thing too. People like Kit Boga was in Sovereignty for a while, who many people will probably recognize when they hear the name of. It was an interesting thing. It's actually how I got some of the biggest raids I ever got in my entire streaming career. One from Kit Boga. It was like 15,000 people or something.
Impressive.
Yeah, and then I just like raided somebody else from it was funny because like it was like I had like 5,000-6,000 concurrence for that stream, and then I raided somebody else and they had like 3,000 concurrence, and then they raided somebody else and then they had like 2,000, and you could like see it going down, and like the raid like got passed around for like 4 or 5 days within the team. It was kind of neat actually to see that happen.
Yeah, that's when the hosts and raids actually work properly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so like there definitely was some benefit to having it. And
just having a group of like-minded people to talk to is always a huge benefit. So that was really nice about it.
It was because like their Discord was like for all of that group's faults. I mean, their Discord was super well organized, and it was really easy to just go in there and just like find a like group of like 10 people that you play the same games and bang, you click, and then you've got a bunch of friends. Towards was it 28? No, it was 2019. I think that the whole thing just like crashed and burned because the founder of it went and got a job at Paradox, and due to conflict of interest issues, he was just like, I'm sorry, I'm closing the team. But like the whole business side of the team's idea was that he was taking all of our stats as a group through Sully Gnome and was trying to pitch it to sponsors for the whole team. And actually made it into an LLC. Like in his defense, he was keeping it all on the up and up and doing it legit. But it just never materialized into anything. And then he got a job and just dropped the whole thing kind of overnight. And that was like largely the impetus for me and reaching out to FG and being like, I'm tired of like getting screwed around by these big teams. Do you want to like do something small that'll actually get stuff done? That's kind of where Halcyon came from, but I don't know if Bellinaire wants to fill any details in there. But
yeah, but basically when you guys then at FGNU talked to me after that, when you guys decided that it might be time to make a new team, I had already been in a previous team before the sovereignty as well. I was in the romantics, which was a small team like ours, which was actually really nice. But he had the same problem that the main guy basically dipped out of streaming, and then the whole thing fell apart. So I also wanted like a new team that was like a small group, and I was like, when you guys pitched like Halcyon to me, I was like, yes, let's do it.
And like that kind of timeline there, I guess, kind of overlaps from like where Kiri started. So then, like, so in 2017, Belliner, you got partnered. In 2018, I got partnered.
Yeah, just
It was
before
like
the
3 days
affiliate
after TwitchCon.
I was so afraid that
Aw.
they would reject my partner application instead of just giving me affiliate, because the affiliates were like just coming, and I got like a month or something before the affiliates became a thing. Like became a partner, and it took like what 3-4 months for them to actually handle the partner application.
Your whole getting partnered saga was like, in
Yeah.
my opinion, kind of legendary, because I've never heard of another streamer going through that.
Yeah, they lost my application.
What, really?
Yeah, and I had to go through like several people for them to actually find the application, and I was like, oh yeah, we okay, oh yeah, this is application. Yeah, we should probably handle this.
How?
I don't know. It was
Was
also
that-
when it was also the time when they were like doing like the London office and everything, so they got new people, and
They made the Twitch EU offices for the first time. Like,
yeah, and
right
the
around
guy who
same
actually
time.
partnered me was the one of the Nordic partner managers, and I was like one of the first ones he partnered and like handled in general,
Yeah.
like the what's his name? I don't remember his name, but anyways, he's the Mingli emote face. So he basically handled it, and it's like gave it to Rich, who's the partner manager, and I was like, okay, here you handle this, and then it's like, okay, I guess we'll partner you from pity or something because it's taken so long. No, so this is great.
Interesting. But you actually had a partner manager.
Yeah, there's
So did I.
there was I think there still is,
Cool.
but they're not really that hands-on anymore. There's 3 different Nordic partner managers who are all really nice people. Like they were really like Gamescoms and TwitchCons and all of these events. They were always taking really good care of us Nordic partners, which kind of shame because there was never really that many Nordic partners in those events. I don't know why.
My,
I
like,
guess
uh,
that is why they could take care of you, because there
Yeah,
weren't that
yeah.
many.
It's like a less than 10 people.
Yeah.
Like they
my
took us
partner
to
manager is a
dinners at
full-time
like
VTuber now.
Wow.
nice. Yeah, they took us like dinners on Gamescoms and so on, and so it was always very nice.
Nice.
It was also
Yeah,
like easy to ask if you had any issue. You just ask them because they didn't have that many people to handle.
Yeah, I mean, when the first TwitchCon I went to, I remember them saying there's 3,000 Twitch partners. The second TwitchCon I went to, it was 15,000 Twitch partners. The third TwitchCon I went to, which would have been 2018, there was 30,000 Twitch partners, and now there's like what, 70,000?
Probably even
A
more now.
lot.
Yeah. So, like
Yeah, wow.
2.5 million affiliates or something, which is actually like kind of low for affiliates, but it's big numbers that, but still also like kind of tiny in the grand scheme of things when you look at like, I don't know, forklift drivers or some other like more normal industry.
Yeah. Getting like affiliate is like nothing if you even stream randomly as a hobby. Anyone can really do that.
It takes a
Yeah.
little bit if you're starting from nothing to get the 50 followers, but getting the
Mhm.
average of 3 concurrent viewers is, yeah, it's nothing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was always easy for me because when I started streaming, like actually streaming, I already was like part of a couple different communities on Twitch, like one of them being the Romantics. So like immediately, I already had like 50 followers before I even started streaming. So I immediately had like a handful of people and people also who hosted and rated me. So it was kind of easy to get going.
Yeah.
That's cool.
For me, it was hard as hell to get going. I didn't average above 5 viewers for like 3 years.
Yeah, you hear about these people who have streamed like months and maybe years to like 0 viewers.
Mhm.
But I never
Yeah.
really had that. I immediately had people.
What I would do is I would text my friend Bryce and be like, "Dude, hang out in my chat and talk at me."
Yeah, I mean that's how you should do it really. Like
I did that
ask
too,
your friend
yeah.
to be there.
Because since I
So
was
you have
new
at
to
least
Twitch,
someone.
I didn't. Yeah, I was new to Twitch, so I didn't have people from other communities. So I started from 0.
Yeah.
And then I just asked my friend to hang out and also check if everything was okay, like audio,
I need
the
a
tech
techie
side of
person.
things. Exactly. And then she just,
Am I muted?
every
God.
now and then, right? Every now and then just say something so it's not as dead.
Yeah. Like on top of the Twitch communities, I was also part of a big World of Warcraft guilds for years, and then I ran the MADA, so I was the head admin there for 16 years in total. So I knew people from there as well. So they also still some people pop up from the MADA. It's like, hi, are you that guy? Yes, I am.
That's cool.
Yeah, I wouldn't. It's kind of funny. It's like I have this. I have a lot of unpopular opinions about streaming now, and I think it's just because of the era that I came from. But like,
back in my day,
it is kind of old man yells at cloud kind of
Yeah.
thing. But like, one of them is just if you haven't streamed to nobody, you're never going to be good at streaming. Because you take for granted people that are watching. And I've noticed this more and more and more and more and more, especially from people who like start off with, let's just say, an average of 15, 20 viewers. Your ability to like especially like when I blew up recently, like in December when I suddenly had like 1,100 concurrent people watching. The thing that people kept saying is, wow, you're good at responding to chat. And it's because that's how I've always streamed. Like I know people who have been around longer than I have who stream number 4 had 1,000 people watching and have never gone below that. And you look at how they interact with chat, and it's completely different than the way somebody like me or Bell or somebody who streams to very small audiences interacts with chat.
Yeah, how I always approached that was that if I don't have anyone to talk to or react to something in chat, I will talk about some random thing or just what I'm doing in the game. So that is always like I'm talking always about something.
Yeah.
And part of the reason I have this opinion is actually Total Biscuit, because there was something that Total Biscuit said, which is if you can't run and he said this because he came from radio, right? Like that was what he did initially, like in the mid 2000s, was he ran college radio. It's like if you can't be entertaining with no like feedback or input from an outside source, you're bad at being entertaining. Because when you're streaming to nobody, you have no feedback, you have no outside source of things to feed off of, and now it's like chat is your inside source. That's the thing that you feed off of to be entertaining, which is helpful. But if you can also be entertaining without that, you will be it's like a different skill set, right? Like communicating with chat is one skill set, communicating without chat is a second skill set, and then communicating at chat but not directly addressing chat is a third skill set. And I think that in order to be good in this industry, you need all three.
Yeah. That's always like, streaming, so it's just play a game and you talk to people, but it is definitely a skill set that you have to acquire at some point.
Yeah.
All right, I've completely lost like the thread of what we're talking about here.
I think we're
I don't know,
2018-ish. Kiri started streaming.
Yeah. I started in 18.
Kiri, you talk a little bit about your early days of streaming, I guess, because like we've kind of been like I've just done the old man yells at cloud thing, but like what was like I don't know actually here's a question. You started with like basically from nothing, like you kind of just said. How did you get into communities? Like how did you meet FG? Where did all that come from?
So about a month before I started my first stream, I started hanging out on Twitch and just watching and, getting a feel for how this is done and how I want to do it and what I needed, like panels and alerts and stuff. And then I did some more research. And the cool thing is that because I started so late, there was so much information online already, like YouTube channels telling you, these are streaming programs, this is how they work, this is how you set up alerts and so on. So I had all that help. But yeah, I just started hanging out in certain channels. And it was really funny because, where do you start? There's so much on Twitch, and to be fair, it was mostly gaming, but still. And then I thought I'm gonna start as my first game with Stardew Valley because I I almost finished it. I was hunting for the last couple of achievements. So I thought, all right, this is a game. I feel very comfortable with it. I know what to do in it. So I can concentrate on streaming then. So I did that. And then I started watching Stardew Valley streamers. And I found a couple. And then, I don't know, raids happened. Like people taking me over to other channels. And I came across more and more at some point. And I know that he raided into FG. I don't know how I got to more and more. I don't remember. But he raided into FG and FG was playing RimWorld. And I didn't like RimWorld. Like at all. It looked weird. I needed to warm up to it. But I liked FG and her energy and that was really cool. So I hang out in her streams more and I got raided into her several more times from I think other people as well. And then I just hang out and befriended the community and somehow it came out that I was streaming too. I definitely did not self-promote, but I don't know, somehow I got out and then FG rated me and followed and I don't know. That was really cool. I felt very honored that, you know, this big streamer, FG Squared, was hanging out in my chat and rating me.
It's always a
That was
good
super
feel.
cool.
Even today, when someone you look up to comes to hang out in your chat, it's like, oh.
Yeah, exactly. And I was a super small streamer and had just started out and I don't know, it made me very happy. And we became really, really good friends.
A couple years ago, when I was doing Final Fantasy, I was about to shit myself and Jesse Cox raided me.
I've got a story about this. That the problem with me starting starting later is that I don't know all these original streamer people.
Jesse Cox was a member of
I don't know.
Biscuits podcast.
Yeah, I know him, but like, I've learned a lot over the last 5 years.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't know any, I don't know, meme language, Twitch language. That just took a while for me to pick up. But also, I didn't know these people back then, and I've learned a lot from the team now. Because you talk about these people and check them out, I'm like, oh yeah, sure. But I got raided once by Dodger, and I didn't realize who she was.
Yeah.
And my chat went crazy. Like, oh yeah, thank you for the raid. That's amazing. There's like, I don't know, 1,000 people or so, and I was very excited about it. But I didn't realize who she was, and I felt really weird afterwards when people explained to me. But yeah, that happens.
With Dodger, just remember that her husband is stripping.
Okay.
It's literally his username is stripping.
Oh, right.
But it's just a fun sentence to say.
That is funny. Yes.
He plays a lot of competitive games. He's a fun guy.
Mm-hmm. Cool.
Yeah, no, just knowing people, like I guess the industry was way easier to know back in the old days because everybody just kind of knew everybody. And it still kind of is that way, even, like, especially in, like, the top 5,000, I think, like, highest viewed people. Like, it's pretty easy to like, pick a language. Like, as long as they're, like, English speaking, it's pretty easy to kind of figure out the top 800 to 1,000 people. You know, weed out the really big ones generally because they're pretty inaccessible. But it's not too hard to become, at the very least, like, internet acquainted with the higher side of Twitch, especially because, you know, at the end of the day, like I just kind of consider everybody who's on Twitch to a degree a coworker, or at the very least a colleague in the same industry, right? So it's like it's not too hard to just be like, oh yeah, no, I know who Fairlight Excalibur is, or whatever. There's just, or like I know who Burke Black is through like 3 different connections. I shook Co-Carnage's hand once. Like it's not that, and like even when I was much smaller, you know, a couple of years ago, like people knew who I was, and still kind of do. But I almost wonder if that's more just because I was in those earlier Twitch cons when you could just like walk up to, I don't know, Soda Poppin' and be like, hi. But like that's way harder to do at TwitchCon now, so
I remember back in the day when Ko used to raid me with like 10 people and hang out in my chat whenever I was playing something new fancy. He was always checking out the games on my channel.
Oh, that's cool.
Weird small world, eh?
Yeah. I feel like conventions help though to get to know people because because I'm within my bubble, right? And I know the people within my bubble who stream mini games and strategy games and so on. But outside the bubble, it's a bit more difficult to get to know other people. And I find that at conventions, it's so much easier because then you are at a networking event and you just talk to people and then you realize, oh yeah, I heard your username before, and then you
I
get into talking.
tend to agree, but I also tend to disagree. And I think it kind of depends on how many people you have watching. If you're in like the level that you're at or where I'm at now, it's quite easy to just like go to one of those events because you get invited. But I definitely went through like I don't know if Bellinair felt this much in Europe, but at the very least with North American conventions, I went through this curve where 2016, yes, very, 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 very much. Very easy to like meet people, talk to people, like get into the same with PAX, TwitchCon, both of those very easy. 2017, a little bit harder, but still possible. 2018, almost impossible. 2019, after I got partnered, easier again, but still harder than initially. Purely because I was, a 50 to 80 viewer stream. And you stop getting those invites. You stop getting told where you can... You stop being allowed to... Like, I went to many conventions as not a Twitch partner, which means I couldn't go into the partner lounge. I couldn't go into the Twitch booth at PAX back when they had a Twitch booth at PAX. They used to have, like, a private partner lounge at PAX, which I wasn't allowed into. And the moment you are not allowed in those... and then there was also press-only areas, and then there was VIP press-only areas. And the press-only areas, some booths had, but most of them were VIP press-only areas. And the second, like, you are under that line, that all goes away. You don't have that, right?
Yeah,
like, even this most recent PAX that I went to, that you were at, like, I didn't get an invite to a single thing because I didn't have a press badge.
Yeah. That is actually true. I didn't think about that.
Yeah, same for Gamescom, really.
Yeah, absolutely. I noticed that. But then I was on the side where I got invited to things. But thinking about my first TwitchCon now, which was Berlin in 2019, I was an affiliate at that time, and I didn't get invited to anything. That is true.
Yeah. So I think you kind of hopscotched over the kind of area that I was stuck in for like half a decade, right? Where initially having 50 viewers on an indie game was huge back in 2016, but in 2019, pardon my French, nobody gives a fuck. Like, there's hundreds of thousands of you. You are disposable beyond all reason, and no, we don't need to let you into this party. And now I think like we've kind of I don't know what my next convention is going to be like now. I mean, I still don't have an easy way of... I mean, TwitchCon will be fine, but like for PAX, I still don't have an easy way to get press badges anymore because they don't give press badges to Twitch partners anymore. Thanks, Microsoft, for ruining that, by the way. So now I need 100,000 subscribers on YouTube. Actually, it might even be higher than that. Or I need 100,000 followers on Twitch. Or I need to know somebody who runs a booth. And the games I stream don't really have booths generally. I mean, KitFox might, but it's generally they don't have booths because it's easier for them to just do private meetings. And then there goes all my contacts. And it's like,
yeah, I think that's one of the benefits because I started early on and I was able to make all those connections with people early on. So it's I know the people on these companies, so I can actually just ask for like an invite or something.
Yeah.
Even if I'm not one of the biggest streamers on Twitch or anything.
It's like I know people like Blame over at or Blaine over at Woovit. That like there's definitely like contacts that I have at PR companies. Like I know Clara and like all the people that you kind of need to know to be able to do things. But like I don't even have Discord partner anymore, which was something that like that just having Discord partner for 2 years got me into so many things that I would never have made it into otherwise. But like that's all gone. I'm not really somebody who tries to get into every single creator program for every single big company because I just don't stream those types of games. like it's this industry has changed, in my opinion, for the worse in so many ways because it's so much less accessible. It's become a lot more exclusive. It's now basically be an extension of marketing for big companies and run your content like that, which is fine. Or you just get exiled from everything.
Mm-hmm.
And I kind of feel like going forward, I'm going to be on the outer side of that because I really don't want to be an extension of a bigger company's marketing. And like, that's me willingly stating I don't want business opportunities, but at the same time, it's just not the way I run my broadcasts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair.
I think there is room for those kind of people as well. You just have to accept that you're not going to be like the 3 million viewers channel.
I don't need 3 million. Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
I got 3 million views in December, damn it. But
Yeah.
but
Well, I mean,
yeah.
as long as you can be comfortable doing your thing, that's fine. You
Absolutely.
don't need to be bigger or anything.
But like, kind of bouncing off what Kiri said, it's like certain unless you run your stream in a certain fashion, certain opportunities just don't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Like
think
for me,
That's a good
Also,
point.
when I look at going to a convention, it's a written off vacation for me. Like for Kiri, it's a business trip. For me, that's a
Oh, yeah.
vacation. I'm gonna
Yeah,
go get drunk.
I always approach them
I'm gonna
always as
hang
a
out with
business.
my mod. And that's the way it's gonna be for me because
Yeah.
I'm there to hang out with people, meet up with people I already know, and if I get invited to a couple of business events, then okay, cool, I'll sober up for 4 hours before I go, because I'm there to have fun,
Yeah.
really.
I'm having
there is
fun
also-
too. Wait,
Yeah.
we
I think
just
there's
have
also a
different
difference between
definition of
like
fun.
North America and Europe. I feel like Europe is still a lot more laid back on all of that, and it's much easier to get into things as a smaller streamer.
I think it's
I
because
would
the streaming industry
disagree,
is smaller over
actually.
there.
Well, yes, it is, but I tried getting a content creator ticket for Gamescom last year, and
Yeah.
that was impossible because you need 25,000 followers on Twitch, which is a
Yeah.
lot,
I'm
and also it
100
doesn't mean
below that.
anything, right?
Yeah.
I'm 100%
That's another
that.
thing where being early was a good thing for me because I'm still marked in the Gamescom system as a freelance, like a journalist. So I get the
yeah.
press pass because of that. I
That
can
is
just
cool.
buy it as long as I have an invite.
I used to get press badges for PAX by emailing one of the partner managers at Twitch HQ and just be like, hey, can you get me a Twitch partner? Well, like once I became a Twitch partner, hey, can you get me a PAX press badge? And it was like literally just like, click this link, sign in with your Twitch ID. It was like a private link, like specifically for you, sign in with your Twitch ID, fill out your information, we'll ship it to you.
That's cool.
But they don't do that anymore because PAX doesn't do that anymore.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I think that this industry is going in a weird direction now, but I still, as weird as this job can be at times, I'm not giving it up for anything.
It
Yeah.
might transform into something else a little bit, but I don't think we're going anywhere.
What do you mean? Like transform in what way? Out of
I don't know. You might have to approach content differently. Like, I don't know how, to be honest.
Is this because the crypto shill Web3
Well-
guy just became the CEO of YouTube?
I'm gonna quit YouTube if that happens, for sure. Like that's where I draw limit. But no, I'm sure there's gonna be like
he's the
big
guy who
changes
suggested
eventually.
selling shorts.
Oof. I mean, maybe not shorts, but I could see like better locking system for content that you can monetize it. Could be a thing.
There was a YouTube or a tweet that I saw go viral about that. Quote tweeting one of his old tweets about how what if you could buy a YouTube video? It's like, what if I upload a video full of content ideable copyrighted content, sell it on their blockchain before anybody notices, and then somebody buys it, and then all of YouTube gets taken down by a DMCA request. I'm just sitting there going like, you know what? Theoretically, with the way DMCA works right now.
Yeah, but you have already like through Patreon, like Patreon only videos and all kinds of that kind of things. So you could see them becoming like more streamlined to having like actual like subscription locked service for a video. So
like Nebula.
mm.
Did you
like
ever, you ever
we're
get
gonna
ads for
definitely
Nebula?
like see someone try that several times on different platforms and fail until one of them works out somewhat.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't think this industry is going anywhere as far as like the content creation / influencer industry. I think it's going to be around for a while until Chat GPT takes all of our jobs. But I do kind of think that like we don't need to be too worried about AI taking our jobs, because I think that like AI VTubers are a very specific audience, and I don't think that it will ever be
like
the entire
VTubers in
audience.
general is like a total whole section.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I could do a whole podcast on why I think that VTubers have actually been around for a decade, and it's just branding. But
like, I mean, it's kind of like with a lot of things. It's like the same thing that's been around for ages, but it's kind of like packaged differently.
It's just accessible now, and you don't.
Yeah.
Well, I guess you still have to. You just now need to spend thousands of dollars on a model instead of a subscription service for a piece of software.
Yeah. Or if you talk about games like Vampire Survivors, it's like this whole new genre of games. No, it's a score attack game. It's been around like decades.
Yep. No, literally, it's an automatic survival shooter. An ass is what it is.
Cool.
So how do we wrap this podcast up? I'm trying to figure this out.
I don't know.
Well, I'm gonna say that I'm very glad that I found Twitch, and that something that started as a hobby I could make into a job.
Yeah, it's
I
been
think it's
definitely
an
like
amazing job.
life-changing in a lot of ways that I didn't
Yeah.
expect my life would go to. And mostly in a good way.
Yeah, I mean, that there are ups and downs, and currently I have a very much down. But still, I wouldn't change it for anything. I love this job.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish that my brain worked correctly, because then this job would be a lot easier.
Yeah, like the job is great. The problem is me.
I agree.
Like you are definitely
Not
the worst
easy.
enemy of your own success.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I love this job. I love streaming. I like making content. I just wish that there was more people out there left from the era that I started in, so that when I complained about people that complain about the way Twitch is now, they understood where I was coming from. Like when people complain that like, oh, the UI for Twitch is so bad, or this site is so old. It's like, you should see what it looked like in 2012. Bah! Or it's like,
how
oh my
bad
god,
it
there's so
worked,
much, Twitch is lagging today. Like, chat's not loading. It's like, in 2015, when League of Legends decided to do any kind of tournament, the entire site would stop working. We just wouldn't stream that day.
Yeah, for 3 days.
It's like,
I understand, and I totally believe you. But also, if you say, yeah, but back then it was worse, that doesn't help anybody.
it doesn't help anybody, but like, be thankful for what you have and quit bitching. God damn it.
You can always strive for better. It's kind of like Finland is supposed to be like the happiest place on earth, and we should be like
That's
the pinnacle
Disneyland.
of all the things. Yeah, but then it's like, and then Finns are like, how miserable are these other people? So it's like, you can always be better than what you are currently.
Totally.
Yeah. Well, that was nice.
All that being said, hey, Discord, let me just like pitch you an idea, you know? What if you just added a follow button to every single person's Discord ID, and then there was just like a tab, either like maybe like between the servers list, and or like maybe when you click the Discord button, like up at the top of Discord, like the direct messages button, maybe there was like a tab on that was just like timeline, and then you could just like post a Discord status. You know, we could bankrupt Twitter overnight, right? I'm just saying, we don't need Twitter. Discord, come on, please. That would improve this business so much if I didn't need to go on Twitter anymore.
Yeah,
So much.
Well,
So much.
kind of like a news page that pulls from all the servers and things.
Yeah. Anyway, I kind of echo your statements. I wouldn't trade this job for anything, but brain go up, brain go down, sometimes brain underground. But right now I got to say, if you like this episode of this podcast, you should follow the people who've been on this episode. So, Kiri, who are you and where can people find you on the internet?
I'm Kiri, and I've been streaming for about 5 years now. I stream strategy games and indie games. You can find me on 2dkiri.com.
Bellinaire, who's still more relevant than Kotaku. Where can people find you on the internet?
You can find like every Finn, you can always find us everywhere. We are the cockroaches of the internet. You kick a rock on the internet, you find a Finn under there. So you find me also there. just Belanner or Belanner TV, literally any site is me. Yeah.
And for me, you can find me at just BLIND-IRL, basically anywhere. For this podcast, if you want to find episodes of this podcast, you can find it at halcyonfrequency.com. And if you want to listen to our whole backlog, that's really cool. And if you happen to have like a very light spot in your heart where you really want to help out a poor, starving internet person, log into iTunes. I know it's horrific. And go to the podcasting section and leave us a review over there. It's very difficult to get reviews for podcasts on iTunes, and it's literally the only thing that actually promotes podcasts. That being said, if you would like to support this podcast on a podcast platform of your choice, of course, leaving a review is helpful. We are currently the 250th most popular video games and leisure podcast in Poland, so shoutouts to everybody listening to this in Poland.
Thank you.
And aside from that, new episodes go up every Sunday, so till next week, don't touch that dial. This is Halcyon Frequency, signing off.